Well, a Unity Center Sunday school teacher asked her first grade class where God lives. One little boy quickly raised his hand and said, I know. And the teacher said, well, where does God live? And the little boy said, he lives in my bathroom. And the teacher was very perplexed and said, in your bathroom? Yes, in my bathroom. He lives in my bathroom. Every morning my dad goes to the bathroom and he pounds on the door. And he says, good Lord, are you still in there? Yes, he's still in there. So today we're talking about the pearl of great price. And there are 3 pearls here, 3 questions, and there's a pearl in each one of these questions. And so my question is to you is, how much do you want a peaceful life? How much do you want wholeness? How much do you want joy? So I invite you just to close your eyes for a moment. We're not going to do a meditation, just a kind of a short reflection. And just to ask yourself, how much do you want a peaceful life? And then how much do you want to experience wholeness in your body, in your mind? And then, how much do you want to experience joy in your life? And I invite you to open your eyes and we'll consider these 3 questions as we talk today. Now, I'd be willing to bet that you would be willing to sell off most anything to experience peace, wholeness, joy. That you be willing to let go of whatever it is that you might be holding on to experience what we're calling these 3 things we're calling pearls, the pearl of great price. Now, the good news is that all of these gifts are yours. They're open to you as expressions of God, and you have the opportunity and the ability to access peace, wholeness, joy. But the bad news is, the bad news is that you cannot purchase them for a price. You cannot buy peace or wholeness or love. A peaceful life, physical wholeness, and joy are the pearls of great price. To achieve these 3 treasures, we must visit the kingdom of heaven. And you say, wait a minute, where is the kingdom of heaven? We've been told a lot of things about where the kingdom of heaven is, right? Well, the truth is, the kingdom of heaven is not a physical place that we can go to. The kingdom of heaven is a state of consciousness. And these gifts and others are available to us when we get into this place of consciousness, into this kingdom of heaven in our spiritual work, in our mind. And so it's a place that we cannot go to physically, but we can go there spiritually. And this talk today comes from Matthew chapter 13, verse 45. And it's written, Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is like a pearl merchant in the search of fine pearls. And on finding the pearl of great value, he went and sold everything he had and bought it. I love this. You know, there's been so much debate over time about what the kingdom of heaven is, and if we just look at this parable, it's easy to see that Jesus isn't talking about a place up in the sky somewhere. And he's talking about an act of consciousness that we can do to achieve the experience of the kingdom of heaven. You know, if I had to put this parable in today's terms, it might sound something like this. In order to purchase that fabulous pearl of great price, the pearl merchant had to be willing to sell off his Picasso paintings, his condos in Aspen, and his best stocks and his bonds, and all of the other things that he might purchase with a great price. Now, that's sort of the physical way of looking at it, but if we look at it metaphysically, right, if we look beyond the physical into the spiritual meaning of this, is metaphysical speaking, this isn't about material things. It's not about getting rid of the condo or getting rid of the bonds or the stocks. It's about releasing error thoughts and beliefs and feelings so that we can experience the pearls of great price. So the truth is, we must release the unhealthy attitudes and beliefs that own us. Have any attitudes or beliefs that own you, that perhaps keep you from having the pearls of great price? So it seems to me that the key for you and I to be able to have these pearls of great price is to be willing to release unhealthy things that own us. We need to release our erroneous thoughts, our erroneous beliefs, our erroneous feelings, so we can experience the kingdom of heaven, which, as Jesus said, is where? It's right here. It's right in front of us all the time. But it's often these thoughts and these beliefs that are rolling around in our head that stop us from experiencing the truth, the peace, the love that's available to us right here in this moment. So in a sense, we have to be willing to let go of the lesser things in our lives to have the greater things. Or to realize really that Spirit is our source. God is our source. Not as somebody out here offering us anything, but offering us this amazing opportunity that we have right now to live these lives that we have. Now, a parable is a story, and Jesus told a few of them, is a story that's created to reveal a universal principle or a truth. It's most likely that these parables that Jesus told didn't really happen. But he told them because he told them in a story in language that they could understand. In fact, I think he said at one point, at some time in your life, you'll understand the truth of what I'm saying. It's almost like it was coded, right? People and still people for thousands of years haven't really understood them. It isn't until we really open our spiritual consciousness and pay attention and listen that we can see how a parable is revealing a universal principle or truth. So with that in mind, let's put a 21st century twist on this parable and see how it might come out today. This parable is about letting go or selling off our attitudes and emotions, selling off our fears, selling off our doubt, even that personal doubt that we sometimes have when we embark on something new and we feel this fear, this doubt that we can even accomplish something. Often, I think, because we think we have to do it on our own instead of realizing that we have access to an incredible amount of inspiration and intuitiveness if we listen to that still small voice within us. So this parable is about letting go, selling off attitudes, emotions, fears, the things that have held us in bondage and kept us from enjoying all of life, the great pearls in life, abundance, peace, joy. So we're going to look at these three questions, the three questions I asked you a little bit ago. So we're going to take each one, and I want you to reflect on what you can let go of. What are the error beliefs and thoughts that you can release in order to experience more of each one? And the first one is, how much do I want a peaceful life? So if we desire the pearl of great price called a peaceful life, we're going to have to sell off the desire to exist in the sea of our emotions. Because it is our emotions that come up that get in the way of us experiencing the peace that passes all understanding. And in order to experience this peace, we have to move to the center of our beingness. Remember when Jesus and the disciples were in the boat? Remember that famous story, right? And the storm comes up, and remember what Jesus is doing when the storm comes up? He's asleep, right? He's down in the center of the boat, asleep, and the boat is rocking and rolling all over the place, and the disciples are freaking out, and Jesus is asleep. You know what he's doing? I just thought of this a couple days ago as I'm writing this talk. He's meditating. He's not asleep. He's meditating and he's praying, and he's totally unaware of the turbulence that is around him. So so what does he say? Do you remember? Supposedly he stands up in the boat and he says, "Peace, be still." I just had this epiphany that he's not talking to the ocean. Right? Of course not. He's not standing up and call this miracle and make the ocean or the Sea of Galilee stop. He's talking to his disciples and saying, "Peace, be still. Return to the center of who you are. Remember that you are expressions of God, that you are perfect." He's saying, take a breath. Do some breath work, for God's sake, right? Because we tend to think that the storms out here, the difficulties that we have out here, are what gets our emotions up and stops us from having peace. And we can get into that peace that passes all understanding if we just say, "Peace, be still." Take a break. Go inside. To become anchored in that truth. To obtain the peace or the pearl of a peaceful life, we must remember that God is all there is and is present everywhere. This is the force of love and wisdom that underlies all existence. I think that Jesus would have said this to his disciples or something very similar, and this is the newly adopted first principle in unity. God is all there is and is present everywhere, even in the rocky boat. This is the force of love and wisdom that underlies all existence. Can you see how embracing this truth and realizing that in the midst of a storm, that presence is always there, always accessible to us. And interestingly enough, it is even the storm. Because the storm gives us the opportunity to get centered. God is everywhere, even in the storm. As I sell off erroneous thoughts and beliefs, I am spiritually transformed by the pearls of great price. Let's say this together. As I sell off erroneous thoughts and beliefs, I am spiritually transformed by the pearls of great price. So the next question is, how much do I want wholeness? How much do you want wholeness? How much do you want to experience the knowingness that you are whole? You know, part of this understanding of this desire for wholeness is to know that we are ever-changing expressions of God. And no matter what is happening in our life, even if it appears to be illness, it is the continuous transformation and evolvement of what is life as us. Wholeness comes when we can live from the center of our knowingness. I had a friend, it was a congregant at my first Unity Church 20 years ago, and she had cancer. She had stomach cancer, and she had tried all the things with the doctors and done chemotherapy and had ate well and did affirmations and did spend time in prayer, and still wasn't able to release the disease. So I saw her just a couple weeks before she died in the hospital, and she said to me, and she said, "Rev, I had a change in my perspective today. I have decided to stop hating my cancer. And I realized that I can love my body, all of it, even the parts that have cancer in them. And I can now, right now, forgive my body for hurting me. And I am grateful for all that my body has done, for all the joy that I've experienced in this body. And I love this body. Please pray with me." And she died a few days later. And however, before she died, she had a tremendous healing. She was able to heal her relationship with her body. Because so often we think if certainly we pray and we affirm, and in my 20 years of ministry, I've seen many people healed from cancer, from lung disease, from heart disease, from mental illness, and a whole gamut of things. But sometimes we get to realize that the healing can sometimes take place in different ways than we know. It doesn't always happen in the way that we want it to happen. For after all, we live in these ever unfolding, ever expressing bodies, and it's part of our evolvement to go through this cycle of life. So as we're open to the movement of spirit, we can experience a healing in many different ways. So the price we have to pay for the pearl of wholeness is to sell off the beliefs and thoughts that we are only physical beings, and remember that we are whole, ever-changing expressions of God. As I sell off erroneous thoughts and beliefs, I am spiritually transformed by the pearls of great price. And the third question is, how much do you want joy? Anybody like to have more joy in their life? Yeah? Yes! I think it's important to make a distinction, before we talk about what joy is, to distinguish between joy and happiness. They're both wonderful things to experience, but I like to think of them as two different things. Joy is more consistent and is developed internally, right? Whereas happiness is an outward expression that comes through external things, like people, like food, like activity, like being places. So joy is kind of the underlying desire that we want to experience because it's longer lasting and it's fuller than happiness is. Happiness being having a shorter span and caused by outward things. So joy is a pearl of the soul, which I believe it's an attitude of the heart, of spirit that's often synonymous with, but not limited to finding our purpose and living our purpose. Doing something in your life that really activates you and makes you feel connected to the truth of who you are. And when you are doing that, right, it's like being part of the creative process. When we are actively doing something that resonates with our soul as a purpose, then we can experience that joy. Does that make sense? And when we are doing that in our life, that joy spreads out and into everything that we're doing. Because it's like, wow, I feel complete because I'm expressing the desire of my soul in this lifetime. And another part of it is that whatever that purpose is, it gets enlarged when we are serving humankind in some way. So that joy becomes more pure and exacerbated when we are doing something that serves the larger community. Because I believe that's what our soul wants. Right? I believe that we're put here in these physical bodies to experience the fullness of life, and that life comes forward when we are expressing our purpose and doing something that helps humankind, that lifts up the energy, that brings the light to wherever we are. And it can be as simple as being happy and smiling. It can be as simple as loving other people. It can be as simple in these days of masks to look above the mask and find the eyes of a stranger and really see them. Have you done that recently? I know I was in Safeway just a few days ago and just doing my thing, and I just happened to catch the eyes of a man that was walking down the aisle, and it was just a second of, I see you, right? I see you, and we could see, I know I could feel in my eyes moving into a smile, and I could see it in his eyes. And it was like, wow. It was like, just for that second, I felt this rush of joy. And that's what we're here for, to be that expression of joy in the world, to help to lift others up, to help to remind them of the truth of who we are. Well, that's certainly part of my purpose and why I do this work. So what is it for you? What is it that brings joy in your life? How are you spreading that joy? How are you being the presence of God wherever you are? So I like what Rumi said. He said, when you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you a joy. Isn't that true? You know, sometimes I think if somebody's really sad, or maybe they're going through a period of depression, it's because they're not experiencing their joy. They're not coming into their life sharing that which their soul wants to share. You know, it's like if we, I like to think of the word depression means to kind of push down, right? So we are pushed down when we're not doing that which our soul desires to do. Might check next time you're feeling a little sad to look and say, okay, am I doing the work of my soul? Am I letting Spirit move through me, doing this work and touching people in a way that affects their lives in a positive way? Alan Cohen said it this way: it's not selfish to be happy. It's your highest purpose. Your joy is the greatest contribution that you can make to life on the planet. A heart at peace with its owner blesses everyone it touches. Wow. So a heart at peace with its owner. A heart at peace with its owner is a heart that is connected to a soul and to a being that is expressing its purpose in the world. Jesus said we're here to be the light of the world. So a byproduct of living a Spirit-centered life, the joy is a byproduct of living a God-centered life, a Spirit-centered life. Joy comes from bringing forth our God-given gifts, our pearls of great price that will make a positive difference in the lives of others and a positive difference in the world. And I really believe that spiritual strength comes from being joy-filled. Can you remember a moment when you felt like so connected to the truth of who you are? Maybe you were sharing some gift of yours, and can you relate to feeling that excitement, that spiritual strength? And to know that it's like our heart and our soul and our body, it's like every cell in our body jumps to attention when we're coming from that place of connectedness with our purpose and contributing to the good in other people's lives. So what brings you joy? I'd love to for you to tell me. Maybe not right now, but I'd love to hear what it is that brings you joy, because we know when we put out to the universe what brings us anything, the universe listens and brings more of that to us. So I'd love to hear from you what brings you joy. Waking up? Yeah, we give thanks for that every day, don't we? What brings you joy? Well, let me hear some things. What brings you joy? Party. Parties. Yeah, we're a partying group around here. But the partying brings you joy, but what's in it, the partying that brings you joy? All the fellowship, the congregation, the community, the sharing with other people, yeah. What else? Singing. Yeah, singing brings us joy. Don't you feel like your heart opens when you sing? And you're connected, and you're breathing, and you're living. One more. What's something else brings you joy? Oh, paddling canoe. Yeah, for those of us who live in Maui, paddling canoe is a great thing. Other people paddle in their bathtubs, I guess. I don't know if that's as much fun, but yeah, but doing something that moves our body and our minds and our spirit. So if we desire the pearl of great joy, we must sell off the belief that we cannot make a difference in the world. And we must remember that we are here to be the presence of godly love in everything we do. Wow. What a great affirmation that would be when we leave our house in the morning to go and to say, you know what, I'm going to be the presence of godly love today. Make that my goal for the day. So if we really want to experience this pearl of great price, we want to open ourselves up to experiencing the fullness of life, the fullness of who we are. So here's the parable again. The kingdom of heaven is like a pearl merchant in the search for fine pearls. On finding the pearl of great value, he went and sold everything he had and bought it. So once we obtain the pearl of great price, we find that we are very, very rich in spirit. So rich that we don't have a desire to replace any of the things that we sold off. The need to live in a sea of emotions, or the belief that we're separate from God, or the belief that we cannot make a difference in the world. Spiritual wisdom is the great pearl of great price. And let's say the affirmation together. As I sell off erroneous thoughts and beliefs, I am spiritually transformed by the pearls of great price. I invite you to close your eyes. Breathing in and breathing out. Maybe taking your awareness in your mind and dropping it down into your heart. Into this place of love. Into the seat of your soul. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. And I invite you to take one of these three questions. And the first one was, and you get to choose from the three, how much do I want a peaceful life? Or maybe, what would I sell off to experience a peaceful life? The second question is, what would I sell off to experience wholeness? And the third one is, what would I get rid of to experience more joy? So which one of these pearls is awakened in you this morning? Peacefulness, wholeness, or joy? And imagine that you are like the shell that is holding the pearl. And this pearl represents that which you desire. And this pearl belongs to you. It is the pearl of great price. So hold this pearl and nurture it. To feel what it feels like to have this pearl and all the love and all the benefits that come along with this pearl. The peace, the wholeness, the joy. And you are the merchant of this pearl. And there could be some things that you can sell off or let go of. To hold this pearl even tighter, to reap the benefits. What are those things? What are you willing to let go of to be more peaceful? What are you willing to let go of to be more whole? What are you willing to sell off to be more joyful? As I sell off erroneous thoughts and beliefs, I am spiritually transformed by the pearls of great price. Breathing in and breathing out. Gently allow your awareness to return to this moment right now. And then to open your eyes whenever you're ready. So are you willing to let go of erroneous thoughts, beliefs, and feelings that don't serve you anymore? Are you willing? Yes. Yes, I'm willing. Are you willing? Let's see, here's a poem by Claude Weimer. Life is a constant learning. Never the lessons end. And the more we learn, the further the bounds of life extend. Life is a constant journey. Never we reach the goal. But the higher we go, the greater is the reach of the living soul. Life is a constant growing up from the nourishing sod into the better living. near the fullness of God. So I invite you now to prepare your love offerings. And as you do so, maybe to think of what it is that may want to hold off on picking them up for just a moment yet before we let us pray first. But let us, what is it that is the pearl of great price for you? Might be one of the things we listed this morning, or maybe it's something else that you desire. Having a greater awareness of spirit, experiencing more love in your life. What would it be for you? And I invite, as you give today, to imagine that you are letting go of whatever it is that's stopping you from experiencing the fullness of life. Just let it go. So as we hold our gifts this morning, why don't we pray and affirm together our prayer for prosperity, which begins, through a grateful, giving heart, my mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing, infinite supply. And so it is. Thank you, loving Spirit, for these gifts that have come to us in love. We hold them, we bless them, and we release them to move through this ministry out into the world to do the will and the work of Spirit as we go about our godly lives. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. Thank you to all of you who do so much for Unity on Maui. And I wanted to say thank you to Joy today. Joy, anybody ever read the newsletter? Joy does such an amazing job with the newsletter. Well, thank you, Joy, for all you do. I'd like to thank Kailani for this beautiful bouquet of flowers that she offered to us today. Thank you for, where'd she go? Oh, she's in counting. That's good. So thank you, Kailani. And she's dedicated these flowers to us and to celebrate the love of our Unity family. And thank you for being a part of that today. Also, if you'd like to donate flowers on Sunday morning, there's a sign-up sheet on the table by the door, and you can sign up there, and we'd love to celebrate important moments in your life. And next week, my talk is titled, I'm Right, You're Wrong. Yeah. Inner peace. I've noticed that it seems like there is a lot of disagreement in our world today. Have you noticed? And, I thought that it might be good for us to talk about it and to talk about what can we do. There's so many differing opinions about the virus and where it comes from and who can get it, and is it important to pay attention to it, or should we wear masks, or shall we not wear masks, or should we be Republican or Democrat, or what should we be, and how can we be with each other in a powerful way? How can we be with each other in a way that honors each other? And how can we, I know I've got friends who disagree with me about some of these topics. How about you? And so how can we be expressions of love even in the midst of our disagreements? So I think it's a very provocative topic, and I'm counting on Spirit to give me some good answers for next week's talk. So pray with me about that. I think, and I know that, we are one presence in the world as expressions of Spirit. And so let's find ways to live together, to share that with each other. So please join us next week right here at 10 o'clock. And if you enjoy our talks and our music, you can always go to our YouTube channel and find more of those same kinds of things up there. So I think without further ado, before I do anything further, why don't we say the prayer of protection together. So I invite you to stand up. Take a deep breath. And let's know this truth and affirm it together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. God bless you, friends. Thank you for being here today. See you next week. Mahalo and aloha.
Where I live, there are rain.